How do Palestinian students feel about marking the 76th anniversary of the Palestinian Nakba at their university's Gaza Solidarity encampment?
As my great-grandparents kind of lived to tell us stories about how they, regret ever fleeing Palestine, our country. We are here. We will not leave until we hear our demands are met. We will not live to regret, leaving this encampment. We will stay until we see a difference.
Amidst a genocide that is occurring now in Gaza, we have to remember that the Nakba is not an event. It did not happen on May 15th. It began on May 15th. It really is a state of consciousness where all that is known to you, all that is essential to you, your values, your personhood, is all stripped away from you. And the fact that the encampments and our protesting are happening amidst Nakba Day is really only emblematic of how we are living in a world of horrors upon horrors upon horrors. I think at its most fundamental level, what the encampments are doing is they are turning the issue of Palestine and what's going on in Gaza into a material event and state of being that you can see in front of you. When students walk into their campuses and they see Palestine flags everywhere and people placing tents and encamping on their campuses, they're saying that it is really more of an exercise in materializing what is happening in Palestine to show how and what it looks like on campus.
The Palestinian story is a story of staying power. Israel has delusional and fantastical aims which cannot be achieved. Zionism in the region is a circle which cannot be squared. What you have currently is an alliance of forces within the region who are pushing back against this project, which is a shared project not only of Israel and the United States, but also Britain. They are involved in a logistical way with this war. There are so many different ways in which Britain is providing support to this genocide. And that's not only historically with the Balfour Declaration, with Ord Wingate, with 1936, with Harold Wilson in 67. There are so many ways in which Britain, in a present material way, is aiding that. What we need to do, and what this is part of a process of, is taking politics out of the abstract space where you're focusing on petitions and imagining that that will have an effect on what has proven to be an intransigent political class, to taking it into the material, where we are looking at the exact supply chains which go from this country to Palestine, and we're working to break those supply chains. So it's absolutely important and vital that while people study the history and feel emotionally moved by the history, of course, they also focus on the ways in which they can today, right now, affect those supply chains.
We have to first recognize these horrifying, these horrifying events and horrifying memories, but we also must rectify them and correct them so that we can live in a world that represents us, that represents the people, that represents what young people really stand for. And what I think that is really, it is just liberation.
My great-grandparents are, they had a first-hand experience of the Nakba, having to be forced out of Akka, which is one of the cities that were, taken over during the Great Catastrophe.
The steadfastness of Palestinians, but also people who are pro-Palestine, students behind us who are pro-Palestinians. The steadfastness is essentially Palestinian. It is what, after 1948, it is what our culture revolves around as an indigenous people, protecting an indigenous land, defending it, connecting ourselves to it, even when in material circumstances we are not. That is what steadfastness means. It means against all the odds, despite despite everything that's happening around us, we remain steadfast and we remain Palestinians, no matter how much others may try to erase our existence. And the encampments are truly something to be seen, where even in our most wholesome and altruistic institutions such as a university, we are still so entangled with horror and destruction and catastrophe. As students, as young people, what our institutions are doing, our institutions that are supposed to serve us, to develop us, they are they are harrowing, and we can't connect the two. We can't see a world where these things are entangled anymore.
The simple fact is that according to the Arms Trade Treaty, which Britain is a signatory and ratifier of, Britain cannot make arms exports to places where it may be used for violations of international humanitarian law. Now, it's also a known fact that the Foreign Minister, David Cameron, received advice that continuing arms exports to Israel was likely to be illegal, yet he continued. Now, that is the opinion of the majority of this population, even in this country, that those arms sales should stop. That's the opinion of people in these encampments. So as much as there are operations to try and disfigure the image of what's happening here, it comes down to a very basic aversion to mass human suffering and killing on an industrial scale. These encampments are an expression of that opposition.